Good Tuesday morning, Pastor Ron Jetter, Immanuel Lutheran Church, September 2nd, 2020. Daily message returning to the Genesis saga, the saga of the Hebrew patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob is now returning home after having spent 20 years in the land where his grandfather Abraham came from, working for his uncle. And he has 2 wives, and they have 2 servants who have become other wives, and they have a combined 11 sons, 1 daughter, and other servants and flocks of all kinds. Chapter 32. You know, this reminds me when we hear the story of Jacob and how quickly you can travel. We know that it took his uncle 10 days to overtake him, but really he hadn't gotten that far, a couple hundred miles when you're herding animals and driving these flocks. And we had to travel to Oregon, to a place in rural Canby, 10 miles south of Oregon City, still within one of the urban counties in Clackamas County. And so it had certain rules there about how big of a public event you could have. It was theoretically 25 or less, outdoor, social distancing, masks. And so we had a wedding for our daughter and our son-in-law. It took us 2 trips with our Chevy Tahoe, with the 3rd row of seats removed completely, the 2nd row of seats folded down to create a large cargo space. We filled that thing up to the brim twice and drove from Sunnyside down to Canby to unload at the home of our son-in-law's parents, where the wedding took place. Beautiful 5 acres, part of it's in forest, part of it's in farm, part of it's in lawn, and it was a great setting. Worked out so well. But we had to take so much stuff. A lot of it was consumables and decorations which didn't come back or which got distributed or used up. A lot of it was stuff, though, that we had to bring back with us. And so 2 trips to take it down there, and that took some time. It's about a 3.5-hour drive or so to get down there each time. And then coming back, Sunday morning we got up, and the kids were still in town or came back from where they had stayed the night and came back and helped. The entire wedding party was gone, had to go back, drive out, fly out. So it was a handful of us tearing down all that we had put together over Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we had Sunday to pack up our car. Our brother-in-law and sister-in-law took some to their place in Lake Oswego, southwest Portland, and then Monday morning get up, repack the car again with stuff that they had to send home with us that was ours, giving them as much as we possibly could, and once again traveling home, getting home mid-afternoon and wanting nothing more than to go inside, put our feet up, take a nap, have a nice cold iced tea, but a car full of stuff that says, this needs to be unpacked. Your work's not done yet. And so we did. Spent the couple hours unpacking. Wow, and we're still exhausted, and it's Wednesday. Chapter 32, verse 1. Now Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, this is God's camp. So he called the place Mahanaim, which is 2 camps. There was 2 angels, I guess. Funny, the angels of God speak to very few people. God speaks directly to very few people in the Bible. Oddly enough, Jacob's uncle, Laban, was one of them. God, a God he didn't personally believe in, didn't worship, spoke to him and says, you leave your nephew Jacob alone. He's under my protection. And Laban became a believer. Okay, I may not worship you, but I certainly don't want to incur your wrath. And so Jacob and his uncle Laban had left each other in peace. Laban had kissed his daughters goodbye and his grandchildren. Jacob is now returning to the land of Canaan. Verse 3, this is what takes us back. Remember How many times Laban cheated his nephew Jacob? Jacob says he changed his wages 10 times. Well, that's probably true. But Jacob, remember, had stolen his brother's, or tricked his brother to get his birthright. And his mother had tricked their father Isaac to get the blessing. So that's not Abraham, Isaac, and Esau that is the father of Israel. It is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the father of nations. Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, in the country of Edom, instructing them, "Thus you shall say to my lord Esau, thus says your servant Jacob, I have lived with Laban as an alien and stayed until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flock, male and female slaves. I have sent to tell my lord, in order that I might find favor in your sight." So he's telling his brother he's done well, but he's lived as an alien. He's coming home and he wants to live in peace. And how much of his property does his brother Esau want in exchange for a truce? Verse 6. The messenger returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." Jacob was greatly distressed and afraid. He divided the people that were with him and the flocks and herds and camels into 2 companies, thinking, if Esau comes to the one company and destroys it, then the company that is left will escape. So Jacob already knows his brother has a right to be angry. 400 men. And he's thinking of how his family does things when they're wronged. They don't just bring men, they bring armed men. Abraham raised an army when he had to rescue his nephew Lot. And now Jacob knows that his brother has an army and is coming to meet him. And he's hoping that some of his descendants will survive. Verse 9, Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said to me, return to your country and to your kindred, and I will do you good. I am not worthy of the least of all the steadfast love and the faithfulness you have shown to your servants. For with only my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 companies. Deliver me, please, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I am afraid of him. He may come and kill us all, the mothers with their children. Yet you have said, I will surely do you good and make your offspring as the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted because of their number." Jacob prays, saying, "It is not I who am worthy. It is you according to your promise." And I think we don't really get a better expression of what gospel is, even in the entire New Testament, than that statement. Lord, I'm not worthy of any of these blessings, but I trust in the promise you made. When I crossed the Jordan to my uncle, I had a staff in my hand. I came back, I have wives, I have children, and I have flocks, and I have servants, too great to number. You have blessed me. My life is forfeit, except your will be done. He didn't say, God, remember me, you got to keep your promise. You got to keep me safe. This is on you, God. He didn't say, God, I have earned this. I worked hard. Look at all I have. I'm a self-made man. I lifted up by my own sandal straps. By golly, I have earned this. He did none of that. None of that posturing before God. It was God and God alone who blessed him. He gave glory where glory alone is due, to God. And he counted on God's promise. God, however your promise works out, I am completely in your hands. 13, so he spent that night there. From what he had with him, he took a present for his brother Esau, 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milk camels and colts, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, 10 male donkeys. These he delivered into the hands of his servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servants, pass on ahead of me and put a space between me, drove and drove, between drove and drove. So spacing them out, some in the lead, some behind, and then him perhaps a half a mile or a mile back. He instructed the foremost, when he saw my brother meets you and asks you, to whom do you belong? Where are you going? And who are those ahead of you? You shall say, they belong to your servant Jacob. They are a present sent to my lord Esau, and moreover, he is behind us. He likewise instructed the second and the third of all who follow the droves. You shall say the same thing to Esau when you meet him. You shall say, moreover, your servant Jacob is behind us, for he thought, I may appease him with the present that goes ahead of me, and afterward I shall see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the present passed on ahead of him, and he himself spent the night in that camp. Jacob is doing everything he can to make it easy on God to spare his life. He's not saying, God, I'm in your hands, spare me miraculously. He's saying, God, I'm in your hands, but I'm also going to do the right thing. I have wronged my brother. I'm going to do right by him. I can't take back my father's blessing. I can't give him back the birthright that I traded because he was hungry, and I gave him bread and some lentils, and he was desperate, and I took advantage of someone who was desperate, and I should be ashamed, and I am, and I'm guilty, but maybe this small present, I mean, my goodness, did you count those? So he's got breeding females and enough males there, 200 female goats, 20 male goats, so 10 to 1, so that they can spread out the genetic mix and make strong herds. Wow, tell me these people didn't understand genetics, didn't understand breeding, how to avoid inbreeding, how to breed strong herds. They obviously did. Milk camels, cows, bulls, donkeys, ewes, and rams. Wow. 4 different species there, and each in their own drove, one followed by the other. And tomorrow we'll find out what Esau does with this obvious bribe. Thanks.